Welcome, everyone, to This Week I'm Learning, the podcast where the topics are made up. The points topics aren't made up, but the categories are, and the points don't matter.
Internet points are the only thing that matter.
Oh, yes. Got to get that Reddit coin.
Oh, God. That's a topic in itself.
Yeah. I am Brandon Vader, your host. I am joined today by Cody Stratman, also known as Psychonitrous.
With and by.
Wave,
yes.
Cody. Wave, Cody. Yay, Cody.
Wait, which one's Cody?
And that
No,
one of
you
those.
were right first. That's okay.
That's all right.
That?
No.
You're over there? No. That? I don't know. I never know. It's okay. I don't record. That's Cody's job. And of course, as always, Seeker4761.
Hello,
also known
Internet
as Colton
world.
Roper.
Hello, hello, hello. Guys doing
we
good?
Should have an... I am. How are you? How's the crazy Arizona heat? How are you alive right now?
It was only like 105 today. So you know what? It was nice. It was comfortable.
No.
There were some clouds that blocked out the sun for like 5 minutes. We had a field day. It was wonderful.
Several people didn't die of heat stroke that day. It's great. Planes can fly because it's actually cool enough.
There were
for
so many
aircraft.
stories of like shit literally melting in Phoenix. This not yesterday, 3 or 4 days ago. It was like 118, which is it was an absolute record. And they were talking about like random pieces of plastic, like children's toys, just like melting. Completely melting. Weirdest.
Why?
So that's where I choose to live.
Like the world's dreams right now.
Apparently.
I guess you're just trying to be like the toughest person ever. It's like, all right, moving to Arizona, see if I could deal with the heat, and then the
rattlesnakes.
Next our summer, he'll move to Antarctica.
Snakes are friends, not food.
I would do Antarctica.
In the North American
That would
summer.
be fun.
So the winter in Antarctica?
Extreme.
Give me enough food and enough internet. Sure, why not?
Heat, probably.
Yeah, heat would be...
Heat's a given. Heat's a given. Okay, a big enough server rack, enough electricity, and that would generate enough heat for me, I'm sure.
The room would just get smaller as the temperature changes. Like, all right, gotta move the walls in for the server. You're just hugging the server in the middle. Just like July, you're just like hugging it.
It is literally, yeah.
Just a hammock in between the server racks with the vents blowing at me. The exhaust fans. That's plenty. That's enough heat, I'm sure.
You got the
I
white
know,
noise.
because my server rack... My server rack is so hot I had to start turning off servers today.
Oh my gosh, did it get like 90 degrees in Gunnison?
It did.
Oh, I don't...
I think. Actually, I don't... We're at 75 now and it's 8:30, so... It's a little crazy. Oh, by the way, since I didn't mention it, today, recording August 6th, 2020.
What is this, our episode 9? Is that where we're at now?
Yes,
Damn.
which means next week is episode 10. We'll have to do something fun for it.
I think so.
Yep.
But I learned something recently, guys. Did you know?
Oh, an additional fact.
Call it a TWIL fun fact, I guess you could say. Did you know that? Yeah, factoids. Did you know that we are the only podcast with 3 people that are naked from the waist down as we record? To be fair, I have done no outside research. It just seems like we do that. We're trendsetters when it comes to this. So yeah.
Yes, because bare ass and pleather, that just...
and
so
going
comfy.
back to the heat problem down here,
yeah,
it's very sticky. That's all I'm going to say.
Did you buy one of the scrotchulas?
I don't want to know.
Oh, is that like the ball jacuzzi? Is that the jacuzzi?
No, although I have seen those. Oh, God. Nope.
Worst timeline.
We're off the rails already. Okay. On today's show, what's actually going to happen aside from the random rants and chaos, Cody is going to tell us the slow death of a port, and you bet Cody is going to rant about it. Oh God, what port are we losing now?
Cody, you doing a rant? That's new.
Can I place a bet? Can I place a bet?
Mm-hmm.
Charging.
You can.
Micro SD card.
I think
I'm
it's
not
going to be
going
some
to
sort
respond to that.
Ooh. Oh, he got it. Damn it.
Got him.
I'm already angry. Yeah. And Colton is going to tell us about yet another evil multinational tech giant that wants to control what you see. That seems par for the course these days, so...
Chef, it's really just it's not even interesting. It's just explaining that every day at this point.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's a degree of just bad. We should come up with a scale for that.
Yeah, from 0 to 2020, how bad is everything right now?
How many deviations from, like, the original Prime universe we are?
We'll call it the
timeline.
The Vader Stratman Roper scale.
Yeah.
We'll have to come up with a better name.
The VSR scale.
VSR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What number of VSR are we today?
I would say we're about a 9. Well, luckily, it goes up to...
Well, no. See, because so if you have a prime timeline, your positives would be brighter timelines, and your negatives would be your darker timelines.
Oh, so we're like at a minus. Is it like gotta be like the Richter scale where we?
No. Screw the exponential stuff.
It's the log
like it's
scale.
It's branches. How many branches? How many branches down on the darkest timeline are we?
I would say about 72.6.
If you're going off of
negative 72.6 VSR.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
and
pretty terrible.
Downward slope. But in other news,
infinite.
Oh yeah,
it's
but in other
irrational.
News,
it's okay.
Brandon is going to tell us about Microsoft causing issues for scientists and fact-checking Trump and how that might get you silenced.
I can guess what one of those is. Oh, does it have to do with Excel and renaming of a certain thing?
Yes.
You guessed mine.
Well,
I guess yours.
At least I will.
But
be
I
excited.
told you.
I will be excited to learn instead of ruining it for myself, like you guys did. So.
All right, Cody. Tell us about the disappearance of a port that we all love and should really want.
The problem is we don't all love it like we should. That's
Ooh.
one of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Hot take. What do we got?
And yes, it is micro SD. I love me some micro SD cards. And it's really upsetting when I look up a new phone and I'm like, hey, I mean, yes, RIP. Well, RIP that in phones, at least. Not necessarily in other devices, but in phones. It's going new. It's gradually going away, and it's going to upset me greatly. So this started when I decided to, look up new phones because even though I'm not planning on upgrading, because I'm not a compulsive upgrader like some people.
I stopped.
Okay, like
I've
some
gotten
people
better.
used to be.
It got better.
It got better.
He's not a newt anymore.
I've had my phone for almost 2 years now.
Whoa, that's a record.
Wait.
Yeah,
No,
it's
you
crazy.
haven't. No.
Yes.
Is that
I
the
bought
9?
this. This is the Note S10 or Note 10 Plus.
Hasn't even been out for 2 years. Has it?
Yes, it has. I got it the month
I guess
that I
has.
started at Vail.
Huh.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I've had it a year and 8
So
months
those
now.
those anonymous meetings we forced you to go to really helped, didn't they?
We really need to have like
with,
that
with
how
the
I
ball gag and the arms tied You know, enough meetings like that, it did finally start to sink in that I needed to stop. Thank you for the love and the care and the finally letting me talk.
We really do need one of those How I Met Your Mother intervention banners.
Shit. There's a podcast episode.
So anyway, I love my phone, but I know that like in a few years I will have to update my phone. And I was like, hey, you know, Ace. So I have the Razer Phone 3 or 2. They're not making a Razer Phone 3, or maybe they are, or maybe they're not. Who knows? It's like, you know, is 5G responsible for COVID? It's not.
No.
But so I've been looking to checking up kind of, you know, what the new flagship phones have as far as ports, as far as features. And one of the ones that's kind of piqued my interest is the ROG phone, because it, like, specs wise, it is outstanding. Like, it's just a great phone, and it's got RGB, so what's not to love?
That's like 10% faster right
there.
Gamer
for life.
Hey, I love me some RGB, and if you want to really appreciate RGB, go to Da Nang, Vietnam. There's RGB everywhere. It's awesome. Like Da Nang at night. Well, don't go there right now, because right now they're making the entire population leave because there was a COVID spike, and they're testing the entire city. Wow. We don't have the capacity to do that here. Anyway, off topic. So looking at the phone and going, okay, what cool features does it have? Because there's a few things that I absolutely must have. One is waterproofing, which unfortunately that phone does not have any. So that already kind of made me go, because the last thing I want to be is when I'm walking down a street somewhere and it starts to rain is having the fear of losing a $700 device that's in my pocket because I might get wet. Like,
well, I don't think the ROG phone, it's
$1,300,
but it's still water resistant. All these devices are still water resistant.
Has no IP rating.
Yeah,
I swear I thought I saw
no IP rating.
Really?
Nope.
Not on the Asus ROG. No.
I swear
technically,
I saw something,
yeah. So I've got the Razer Phone 1 also, and that phone technically does not have an IP rating. Although some people have taken it apart and said that some of the components are actually sealed well enough where, you know, it's kind of lightly splash resistant. But I wouldn't test that to like Songkran or something, which is the Thai New Year where they super soaker everyone in the streets. It's amazing. Did not happen this year, of course, because that's how you know it's the worst year, because Songkran didn't happen. But anyway, back to the subject again, aside from random Southeast Asian factoids about 2020.
You're really trying to move towards that.
I know.
It's funny how you, noticing your previous topics, you've obviously made a conscious choice to change it up this week, and now you're like forcing you need an intervention. You know what? You need an intervention.
Maybe I do. You guys have to make the banner first, though.
Well, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got some time. But so I was like looking at the ROG phone, and one of the things that I really need in a phone is a micro SD slot. Now, the reason, now a lot of people say, well, why don't you just plug it in when you're traveling to like your tablet, your Surface Pro, which is awesome because the Surface Pro has its own micro SD slot too. Even the Surface Pro 7 still has that micro SD slot, which is awesome. But when people say plug it in, that means that for the time that the transfer of whatever media or whatever you're transferring, you have to have your phone physically tethered to this device. Both of those have to be on. Both of those have to be set up somewhere while you're doing that. Okay. All right. I see you. Yes. What?
No. Continue.
Okay.
Continue.
So while you're transferring that data, both of those devices have to be plugged into each other, taking up space on your tray table, or one in your bag and one on your tray table. That means your tray table has to be open, and that means you can't go to the bathroom on the plane while the tray table's open. And you're just... See, flight reference, too. Got that in there. And it's
Give me a little more, man. Give me a little more.
A pain in the butt. But with a micro SD card, I can take all of that information. If it's just on the phone, I can move it to the micro SD card, which admittedly, that takes time. And then I can take it out and then plug it into my Surface and do the transferring with the Surface wherever. I don't have to have a cable connecting that to my phone. And I can just let that happen, have my phone turned off, be using it, not have to worry about this cable in my way. And that's awesome. And I can do that with my GoPro. I can take the micro SD card from my GoPro. I can put it in my phone. I can put it in my Surface. It's amazing that I can have this. I've got this cool little case that I can have all of my micro SD cards and stuff in. And I love it. I can expand my storage as much as I want. Unfortunately, they're taking that away from me. Why?
Okay.
Well, okay.
To play devil's advocate real quick. So, what do you need to transfer that requires the bandwidth and speed of a physical connection? Of like pulling a card out of your phone to transfer onto your Surface laptop.
High-res video.
On an airplane.
High-res video that I want to watch and monitor well.
From your phone.
Yeah. So, now this is going to go into a kind of a segue. On the Razer Phone 2, the standard camera, not the physical camera, but the actual software, sucks. So you do have to get the other camera, and I wish I remembered what it was called. It's some sort of like development kit thing that you have to download. But that camera is actually really good. So once you get that software on there, it actually turns it into a really good camera, as well as the Razer Phone 2, unlike the Razer Phone 1, has optical stabilization in it, which makes all the difference for when you're trying to do something. And I am going to explain why that card slot is going away, too, because I did do my due diligence and research that. But if you have other stuff...
Well, then I won't discuss that.
Okay.
But, so, the last time I physically plugged... So this has an SD card in it. Mm-hmm. It's the 512 gig model internal storage. And then I've got a 512... No. 256 gig card in it. The pictures and everything go to the card just in case anything ever happened to the phone, I could pull the SD card out. That I do like. But the last time I hooked up my phone to a computer to get a picture or video off of it, well, I don't think I've ever done that with this phone.
See,
nor have I pulled the SD card out.
With my OnePlus
I
5P,
Bluetooth everything.
I've never actually physically connected it to any computer of any sort because I Bluetooth or use cloud storage.
Yep.
And that's the thing, is a lot of people do use cloud storage. That's one of the main reasons why companies are getting rid of it, because if you have a Google Pixel, they really want you to use that Google Cloud storage.
Google Photos, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's a few reasons behind this. It locked on me. OneNote locked on me again. I knew it was going to happen.
It does tend to do that.
Yeah, like every 15 minutes. It's aggravating. It's this program I use at work.
What I do is I just make the copy and put it in like my regular OneNote, just so I know it won't lock.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
That's not a bad idea.
OneNote is an awesome application, but some of the random features on it are problematic.
If you're talking about the locking feature on it, that's probably what you want a locking feature to do, is to lock when you're not using it.
I want control over that, though. Yeah. I want to tell it how long it can wait. I want granular customization, just like I want my micro SD slot. See? Brought it back.
Fair enough.
Anyway. Out of curiosity, since we're talking about losing ports, does your current phone have a headphone jack?
No, it does not. And that greatly my last two phones, because the Razer Phone 1 didn't and the Razer Phone 2 does not. And I've kind of accepted the loss of that, not happily. No, I do like my ports, but I've had to, because my other option was going in the Samsung route, which used to and currently does have all of that. The problem that I have...
Not all of them, though.
Yeah, I know. The new Note does not.
Well, the new ones don't, yeah.
Yeah. The problem I have with Samsung is the god-awful bloatware that's on it. And the Razer phone runs a pretty stock version of Android, except for the Nova launcher, which is actually a benefit. It's a boon. It's not something that's trying to sell you something every 15 minutes or 50 bazillion paid apps that you're like, hey, you want to use this Samsung version of this? Or, if you have Samsung with AT&T, it's multiplied, because you've got the Samsung apps, then you've got the AT&T apps that are basically trying to sell you subscriptions on top of it. And I want none of that, and you can't remove them unless you void your warranty. So it's just terrible, and I'm not doing that again. So I wanted to buy a fully unlocked phone, and this had all the specs I had. Plus, there's a little part of it that's like, I want something unique that, there has been 4 people in the world that have recognized my phone. There was a guy in the Razer store in Bangkok that was like, hey, nice phone. And then there was somebody in the airport in South Korea. And then there was one person at a LAN party that recognized my phone. So actually 3 people. But yeah, I like the uniqueness. I don't know. I don't care about the size of the, some people this aggravates. I don't care that much, how much space, is taken up by the speaker. But I can set my phone on something sideways that other people can't.
I was going to say, the dual speakers is...
Yeah, it's
really nice.
I would rather have that than this stupid... Hold on, let me get to a picture or something that then you can actually see,
but
the hole punch camera thing.
Yeah, I know.
I hate the hole punch. It bugs me.
Because you've got screen all around.
It's a transition technology. They're gonna.
I would
in 5 years.
I would rather them not had it.
Ooh, it would be interesting if they actually had the technology to be able to have the camera shoot through a transparent screen.
I think they're working on that.
There is one phone. I want to say it's either Huawei or Oppo or it's one of those brands that did
Xiaomi.
Have maybe Xiaomi. Yeah.
I think it was Xiaomi, the Xiaomi 20, I thought.
Yeah, they had a camera behind, basically an OLED panel, and basically what it did is it would turn off the OLED, and it would try and interpolate between the pixels, the camera.
Oh, that's cool.
To actually take a selfie, and I mean...
Yeah, because how often do you use that camera anyway?
Yeah.
I mean,
some people use it a ton.
We are not the correct people.
Yeah,
we're not
true.
part of the Insta generation.
True.
So why are they getting rid of the micro SD?
Okay.
I mean, if you look at just on what bothers me about the dual SIM slot shit is most people in the world aren't going to need a dual SIM slot for obvious reasons. They're not traveling. They don't use their work phone on their personal phone, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that slot is pretty much the right size for a micro SD. So why are they getting rid of the micro SD at all? Are you saying they're getting rid of functionality, or are they getting rid of the actual port for it specifically?
They're getting rid of... So I think they'll probably still have dual SIM around for a while. But... And also, not all phones are probably going to completely get rid of it. It's just, if you've noticed, it's slowly dying out of flagship phones.
Always push the envelope of, and then 3 years down the road, all the phones do it.
Yeah. So, one is cloud services, and that could be just to push people to buy more space on the cloud, which is kind of a sinister thing, or even more sinister, because if you're using them for the cloud storage, guess who controls your data?
The evil tech giant?
Yeah. There you go. So that might actually segue into the other one, but I'm not ready for the segue yet. Don't two-wheel me out of there. No.
I'm two-wheeling nobody.
Okay, good. The other one is kind of the obvious one to tech people that makes them super angry, which is planned obsolescence. So the companies can force you to upgrade to a new phone because you need more data. What's that famous quote? Was it Gates or was it somebody else back in the early 90s, late 80s?
Bill
Gates.
Yeah. Brandon, do you remember what it's?
Is it 256 kilobytes?
Oh, okay.
It was 512 kilobytes.
Yeah, it's like all the storage you'll ever need. And this is going to happen. As phones have higher resolution cameras, you are going to need dramatically more storage.
But, I mean, devil's advocate again, the storage built into phones is increasing at the same time. Granted, you pay more money for said storage.
Exactly. So you have multiple versions of the same phone that has 256 or 512, which 512... Not a lot of phones have that 512. Like Brandon's Note series does, but again, that's, a pricey phone.
$1,300, yeah.
The ROG phone has a 512 version, which is substantially cheaper than that $1,300 phone. But again,
mine's waterproof.
It better be for the $1,300.
Come with an actual external fan for cooling.
Yeah.
I love that ROG phone. If I could afford it, I'd have it in my pocket.
It's got the air triggers. Like, that's pretty cool. There's actually a Xiaomi one that has similar stuff. I think it's the Raptor I was looking at too. Also, does not have a micro SD.
I remember last week you guys were bragging on mobile gaming, and now you're like, ooh, air triggers on phones.
Well, okay, so here's the circumstance. If I am traveling, then yes.
Big F.
If I am the problem is like the one time I really tried mobile gaming was when we were in Phuket and we were waiting on Pinyel at the hospital. I was playing that Alien Isolation game. I have not touched that game since that time because I can get on my computer and I can play MechWarrior 5 or something that actually is a real game, as opposed to Mobile Legends or whatever. Like, there's a good argument. Like, a lot of people in Southeast Asia, for instance, don't have the money or even space for a giant desktop computer. So mobile gaming is a huge thing there. So I can understand the argument. For me personally, though, there's little substitute to the customization that you get with gaming on a computer. You control your experience. I can use my, fancy VR. I can use my flight controllers. I can use 3 screens or whatever. But I'm able to control that experience. Whereas with mobile gaming, you have, some accessories.
In its current state. It's still in really mobile gaming.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not necessarily an advocate for it, but it's in its infancy, the technology. I mean, the ROG phone is is the only phone that I know of that really there are other ones, but that's the big one that is gaming focused with all of its accessories, with it. It's the
Razer
overall experience.
Kinshi, I think, not kimchi, not the Korean,
Well, yeah,
food. Yeah.
But the issue is not necessarily the hardware; it's the software, and the games are finally going with storage as well. That's actually another thing for the micro SD is as the games get better graphics, better coding or whatever, they're going to get bigger. So that means more storage, which actually, yeah, okay. Now I'm thinking. Now I'm really thinking.
Yeah,
about
and while they're saying cloud storage, use cloud storage. Another problem
Can't
that
game
I
off
have,
of that.
well, and also another problem I have with that is when I'm flying over the middle of the Pacific Ocean, you know how difficult it is to get to the cloud, which ironically you're flying over, but it's under you and several thousand miles away.
Just open a window and grab it, Cody.
You just grab
right
the cloud.
There. Just grab it. Grab your data right there.
That's a pretty quick way to get on the no-fly list. But so one of the other reasons for them kind of pushing away from the micro SD card is physically the space that it takes up, which I think this is the stupidest argument out of it, is, because you made the point of dual SIM. Although they're coming up with this new concept with eSIMs that I first heard about today that sound intriguing. I don't really know enough about it to fully discuss it, but it's basically without using a SIM card.
That could be a whole security issue. That's a whole rant in itself.
Yeah, exactly. The security implications for it. But you actually have a device.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was an eSIM.
My Yoga C630 has a physicalized SIM, so that's where my AT&T SIM lives. But it also has an eSIM. Here in the United States, there are not a lot of providers that allow for eSIMs. AT&T does not allow eSIMs on their network. Neither does Verizon. There is, I think, one or two options that you can do that are pretty pricey. And like when I first got this, I tried to play with the eSIM providers here, and there was three. Only one worked in Colorado, and they were like $10 for 1 gig or something like that. It was absolutely silly. But the concept behind it is that you can change. It's like software-defined radio. You can change what that eSIM is connected to, what it authenticates to, with just the press of a button. It's brilliant. Like if I traveled internationally with this, it would be fantastic.
So yeah, I could see why several entities would be against this. Okay, But technology in its infancy, that hopefully, I honestly hope that catches on. So here's the biggest issue that I found with companies in micro SD. It's basically people's stupidity. Or, to put it in a lighter way, ignorance.
Pepcac?
Yeah. So, you get your fancy new flagship phone, and then you buy the cheapest micro SD card you can. And you go, oh, cool, I'm going to record my 4K video that my phone can do, and I'm going to tell it to record to this cheap $5 card. What's going to happen? You're going to have all sorts of issues. It probably just won't work because they each have different write speeds. And to be fair, do you have your micro SD you can put up to the camera? To be fair, the companies, it's not really well marked unless you understand the language and understand the lingo of it and the markings. So each of these is labeled, well, your finger is in focus, but the card is not. Okay. Anyway,
for our listeners, Brandon is putting his micro SD card to the camera. So
it's not working at all.
For
Anyway,
a visual of that.
Your face is in focus now. But anyway, okay, let's stop. We're just annoying people at this point.
So, for instance, this says SanDisk, 4 gig, micro SD, HC, and then it's got a Roman numeral 1.
Which means
this is a very old chip.
That would be one of those $5 cards that you would not be able to record 4K video. So
honestly, a $5 card currently would probably be better than this.
Yeah, it would.
But yeah.
So not just the capacity of it, which could hold, about 30 seconds of 4K video. It would also be the speed that the card operates. So that is a very slow card, so it can't take the data quickly. Whereas if you've got a GoPro, they talk specifically about this, and a lot of people have issues with GoPros because they use the wrong micro SD card. So you need one that not only has little Roman numerals, but you need the one with like the little U and then a 3 symbol in it in order to get the really fast speed cards. And to be honest, I had to do a bunch of research regarding this because it's not plainly explainable. It's not like this will operate at, this amount of speed. And, of course, there's no room to explain it on the card, so they have to come up with their other little language as they do it, and the standards changed. They changed from the Roman numerals to the now U symbol with the number in it. So this causes people to use the wrong thing because they go, cheaper? Well, I'll get the cheapest card I can, throw it in there, and then complain to the manufacturer of the phone, going, this phone is crap because I've been trying to do this, or I'm trying to run an app off of the micro SD card, and it's not working, it's clunky, I want to return this phone. So, in order to hedge their bets against this, vendors have decided to remove this from phones. This is basically, in my rant phase, this is us getting rid of decent technology because people are too stupid to do the research and understand it. We are catering to the lowest common denominator. We are not uplifting things, we are bringing things down. And here we go. Society...
Which...
Tying
that back to a previous conversation.
I'm going to screw myself with my own words,
gaming.
Aren't I?
No.
Okay.
Mobile gaming right now. I think the reason that, the three of us are complaining about where games are currently on the mobile platform is because not only do they have to cater to a wide market of devices. So when you get a game for your computer on Steam or
consoles, actually, is the best example of this. You only have to program the game for an Xbox because it's an Xbox game. You know what's in an Xbox.
Yeah. You know what it's capable of. Also, you know how to pull every bit of power out of it.
Yeah.
If you go
and the OS. But Android isn't Android on every device. We just had this conversation where Android on a Razer phone is different than Android on a Motorola, which is different than Android on to an extent because of the
depending
on
Samsung. It's more about the version of Android. It's not so much because if we were on 10.0 right now? Is it 9 or 10? No, it's 9.
Depends on what phone you have because Razer's made promises to put 10
Fair
and
enough,
still on 9.
I mean, if you look at the App Store, when you look for a game or an app, a lot of them will say, I think it's 6.0, whatever. Whenever there was a major shift in security between one of the Android versions, a lot of the older apps don't work on the new ones because of that. So they keep Android is still Android, but it's still based on the assumption that most of the newer phones and any phone really that's still working, as long as it can still handle it, will have a relative modern version of the security patch of Android. So it's still all Android, but it's what you're talking about is the skins.
It's true, but the skin can make a difference.
Not at high levels though, honestly. On a lower level phone, lower quality phone, I would agree.
Yeah, it can have a performance aspect on that phone.
Here's even the bigger point, though. You have an ecosystem where the average person is not going to know the performance difference between a $1,300 phone and a $500 phone or a $400 phone. They'll know, a budget, Samsung A series, J series, whatever, may have certain performance issues on certain things, or if they get a Motorola Play, whatever they're on, whatever. Like, your average consumer is just going to go, but this game's in the game store, why doesn't it work?
So you have to create that game for the lowest hardware in order to... and which makes sense. And this leads me into like another kind of subcategory of this is because everybody has a phone, when you create one of these games, you really want to do it for everyone and you want to sell your product. Mm-hmm. So these games, rather than becoming entertainment, have instead become, what can we sell you? And that's what 99% of games are on the mobile platform are pay to win, pay to play games that look really fun, or they're even just misleading, like the ads of like, the ads will be completely different than what the actual gameplay is. Usually it's an ad for something that looks kind of entertaining, and then the actual game is match colors. It's like, wow, we've got Peggle. Well, not Peggle, Bobble or something.
Or a Candy Crush knockoff.
Yeah,
that's just been reskinned.
Don't get me started. Candy Crush, and you're trying to trademark the word saga? No. No. I will never respect you, Candy Crush, ever. Anyway.
The system works where they didn't get it, so it's okay.
No, I'm still pissed about that.
They still tried.
No, I'm going to be vindictive.
Don't get me wrong, I agree with you, but they were so big at one point because of, ironically, the mobile gamers that we're kind of bashing on a little bit, that they pretty much could do whatever they want. Like,
true, but
popularity... They were, like, Candy Crush was the equivalent of freaking... Maybe not the equivalent, but it's similar to the Fortnite freaking explosion.
Yeah, but like, popularity
Candy Crush was fucking everywhere. And then, hey, we have these billions of dollars. Maybe wasn't that much, but considering it costs what, a mere fraction to actually create and produce that game, versus how much money they actually made on it due to the weird addictive aspects of it. So they had all this extra money. So, hey, why not try
dopamine
a word in the English? Yeah. Well, that's what it is. Yeah.
But popularity does not mean quality. You have to separate these two things. When companies say, we're so popular, that doesn't mean it's good. It just means a lot of people agree that they kind of want to have that. Solely because of crowd mentality. Anyway, I've been talking about this. You guys know why I love the micro SD card. You know why it's going away. And
I'm with you, though. I have been, because I'm at almost the 2-year mark, I am not quite ready to purchase another phone, but I am kind of paying more attention to the phone's ecosystem right now, and I have kind of been disappointed in the offerings that are out there, because either they're not innovative
or innovative in the wrong way. Samsung Fold.
Oh my god, the folding phones.
This is like Elder Scrolls Online. Like, nobody asked for that, and this is what we're getting. Like, no.
I can kind of understand the ones that are like a standard phone size when unfolded and then fold down, like the Moto Razr. I kind of get that, going back to, I remember, I don't know if you guys were in the smaller is better, like back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when we were starting to get phones.
The littlest phone was the
Pantech something.
Oh yeah, the silver one that was like that big as $500, and then the Nokia brick that we all were like, oh, you got a Nokia brick, but the thing, it had survivability like legends.
Oh yeah, the 3310.
Yeah. Anyway, I have taken up
you know
way
what?
too much of this podcast, so I believe it's time for Colton to tell us why I'm on the wrong OneNote page. Why evil
Ooh,
companies are trying to do something.
It's
Why?
Twitter and Facebook, man. They are controlling you constantly.
I'm not
So,
surprised.
it's all right. So, well, I'm sure you guys have heard, but recently Twitter and Facebook, mostly Twitter, has been in the news for removing tweets posted by politicians that has been regarded as misinformation about the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. I'm not going to say who, because this isn't a political podcast, but it is. It is what it
I
is.
mean, really look at us
Y'all
historically
take a
on what we
simple
talked
Google.
about, so people might disagree, but...
So, I mean, so going with that, obviously this has caused backlash politically and has forced conversations about what constitutes free speech in our modern technological society. I mean, shit, Cody, you and I discussed this kind of topic, last week for like 2 hours regarding that other coronavirus misinformation. So,
yes,
it's
this Section 230 implications.
Oh, yeah. But that's not exactly what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Exactly. But that is important, but not specifically what this one's about. So, in addition to Twitter, other tech companies such as Facebook and YouTube have also had to deal with specifically monitoring the content that is posted to their sites. So, Facebook's big thing in the last 4 years has been dealing with foreign political influence in the United States. I'm sure there's crap going on around the world. YouTube's been dealing with
the
copyright.
US never influences other countries.
No. It's the opposite of other countries influencing the US. But yeah, I'm sure all countries, cyber warfare, who knows? Oh, sorry, I missed it. My bad. But YouTube has been dealing with the copyright strikes where content creators are losing monetization of their videos because they're dealing with copyrighted material.
Or saying the wrong word in a video.
Or saying the wrong word. It's all a goddamn shit show. I mean, that's what it is. Specifically, I want to talk about what these giant internet media companies, how they're actually, I guess, monitoring their content. Not the actual implications of it. That's a rant and a whole nother day. So just a little bit of context.
Perhaps later.
Ooh, maybe after hours. I got the pants off already. As you said earlier, we all do. As you damn well better as well. So I have a question for you guys. How many tweets do you think are created in the span of 1 hour around in the entire world? The entire damn world. Give me a quick rough estimate. Cody, go.
1.2 million.
If there's 7 billion people in the world, and we'll estimate that half of them have a Twitter account.
Way less, but go on.
Okay. So I would say you said 1 million?
1.2 million.
Okay. I'm actually going to say 200,000.
You guys are way short. So, according to internetlivestats.com, there are roughly 21 million tweets created in an hour, which corresponds to 500 million tweets per day, and then which basically is a little under 200 billion with a B tweets in a calendar year. Facebook is even more ridiculous with 350 million uploads of just photos per day. Just photos, not posts, not rants, not anything, not links, just pure photos. Granted, they're different, but gives you an idea of the type of numbers we're dealing with here. So that kind of makes you think, how the hell is a company, even ones as powerful as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, whatever, how are they supposed to moderate their sites? Really, there's two ways. Humans and technology. That's really all we have right now. One way is to use the actual physical people to moderate the posts. The people deal with posts and that also content that has been flagged by the user base to make decisions. if that content should be hidden behind a warning label, blocked, or should that content be removed. So basically, this is a incredibly shitty job from what I have seen. These moderators have to take into account the company's specific regulations and goals, which are beholden to the stockholders of the company. They have to take into account the laws of the country that they are working in. They have to deal with what is considered ethical in society in general, blah blah blah. All the while trying to not let their personal bias cloud their judgment. Essentially, they're told to be robotic.
Trying to stay sane at the same time.
Going
why
with
would
that.
you upload that? Why?
Well, it's actually a little... Oh, go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to say, I just did some napkin math. So, Twitter is what, 240 characters?
Yes.
Max?
I think so.
Okay. So
Something
each character is a byte. Okay. Each character is a byte. So, in 1 hour, you're saying that maximum theoretical, not everybody uses all the character counts, and of course there's going to be pictures and other crap in there, but 5.76 petabytes per hour.
Actually, that's probably pretty close. Looking at other information I've seen, Facebook has thrown out numbers like 4 to 10 petabytes per hour of data is created on Facebook. So I could totally see that type of number being correct for Twitter. I'm sure they have
and most of it is useless.
Ways to condense it, so it's a bit more. I hope so. Most of it's crap, obviously, so they get rid of. Well, what's interesting is they get rid of some of it. This is kind of what I'm trying to get to here.
Maybe that's why we need to get rid of micro SD. So if people have less storage, so they really have to regulate what they use.
Any of us? Does everyone really need to have a voice? That's what we're asking here. So going back to the moderators. So you add in the fact that these people deal with some of the darkest, most disgusting, most terrifying, and most offensive stuff that people can create on social media for hours during the day. It kind of adds to the shittiness. A sizable portion of these content moderators actually have issues with depression, major alcohol and drug abuse. There's issues with self-harm, PTSD, suicidal thoughts. Like, it's you get fucked up being a content, and again, because you're dealing with the shit we don't see, and looking at the stuff we do see, it's pretty wrong. And this is just on social media. This isn't like a throwback to the dark web, like we talked about last week a little bit, or anything like that. So just kind of go ahead.
I was wondering, what do you think the most positive job in the world is, like, mentally? Like, maybe those people should switch every once in a while?
Daycare.
Petter.
Puppy daycare.
Well, yeah. No, I mean,
daycare.
like, something where you see, like, just the positivity of all of society. So, like, you don't think that society is just terrible all the time? Anyway.
You know, I would actually, just quick little side, I would actually say something with animals, just based on the fact that humans are... No, seriously. No. In the sense of, you see someone who's fighting to... Now, granted, you also see the absolute horribleness of how people treat animals at the same time.
Or bear maulings.
It's all bad, Cody. That's what we're trying to get at. It's all terrible.
Darkest timeline.
We're what, 72.5?
VSC. We are.
Yeah, the VSC scale.
We're too far down on the VSC scale.
Way bottom of the barrel, and there's still a lot longer to fall. So you would think that these people get paid pretty well, but consider this. According to Statista.com, which is an awesome freaking name for a statistics-based website, Facebook specifically, their content moderators are paid an average annual salary of about $1,400 per year in countries like Bangladesh and India to $28,800 in the United States. Yeah.
That is not enough.
And that's got to be you have to get through a high quota of material job too.
It's from what I've seen, just looking at like people who were interviewed who used to do it, they're saying it's the mundanity of it is terrible, combined with the fact that you're dealing with the worst of the worst. So you literally have to become a robot in the sense of you can't let that shit get to you, otherwise you fall apart because you're seeing the worst of humanity.
Interestingly enough,
I have a solution to help them out.
Ooh.
Everybody needs to go and flag Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up" video.
Oh, just freaking Rickroll everybody.
And Rickroll him. I'm sure I've seen that elsewhere, but I mean, on a serious note, if there's a funny video,
flag the shit out of it.
Maybe flag the shit out of it.
Of course.
Then they have a reprieve.
Then you think about what these people are dealing with. They're like, wait, how come 6 billion people just flag Rick Astley's? How come this is bad all of a sudden? Oh my god, and blow their minds. But
yeah, it's
positivity, you're probably right.
Yeah, it's only seeing the negative of society. It's I wonder that about 911 operators too. It's like nobody's like,
it's the same.
Hey, I'm calling. I just want to report like this person helped an old lady across the street and then gave, this other person a new job and they're going to work in a factory just hugging puppies all day. Like that's what they're going to do. Like, I just wanted to call this emergency line and say that have a wonderful day. I've ordered, pizza and Jack Daniels for all of you. Or something better. I don't know. Like
it probably wouldn't be a very good idea to call 911 to do that, but you could probably call their dispatch and be like,
yeah, I'm saying,
this is an emergency. Everyone gets Jack and Coke right now.
Yeah, negative reinforcement all the time. It's gotta be problematic.
I'm sure there are rewarding parts too.
There are people because they're doing a very valuable service. I mean, with the way the internet is and the way it's built, if these people weren't necessarily taking the worst of the worst off, like hates. I mean, I'm gonna give you guys a few
New
examples
Zealand shooting.
Yeah, like there's for the overall good of society, you could argue censorship is worse in some ways, but for the overall mental health, like you kind of have to decide where that line actually is. I'd say it's a valuable service. So I'm sure some of them are at least getting something out of that. I would hope so, because they're certainly not getting anything monetarily out of it. Basically slightly above minimum wage numbers. So
I have an interesting tidbit. So there's another podcast I listen to. No other podcasts exist, just ours.
Anyway, we're the only ones without pants. See, that's what I'm saying.
Only 12.
So I listened to the Bangkok podcast, and one of the hosts on that for a while was going to do a job where he was going to censor porn for Japan. And anyway, so he didn't wind up doing that. Here? But, I don't know if anybody's ever watched Japanese porn, but it's got, it's censored in certain parts with certain things. Anyway, he didn't wind up taking that job, but he found somebody, the person who actually took that job wound up meeting him over something and said, like, it was a terrible job because it was monotonous. It was just doing the same thing all the time, and it actually ruined that for him. So
terrifying mundanity. That's kind of what that would be. In that case, erotic mundanity.
Yeah. Even with that, it's it's just a bad
like that
situation.
Kind of moderating. There's nothing glamorous about being a moderator even in positive stuff, because of that reason, you're going to be dealing with the same bullshit day in and day out. It's the worst. I think some Reddit worst in terms of
group moderators might disagree with you and be like, the power.
Fair enough, but you're also not getting paid. That's more of a passion. I'd say that's more of a passion project.
Like your band and your band and your band.
Exactly. So, so you guys remember those numbers we were talking about? The number of people that are, well, not people, but the amount of tweets and posts that go up.
24 million, yes.
Yeah, per hour. For Facebook, there's an estimated 2.3 billion user accounts in the entire world. But there's only a total of 15,000 moderators to deal with these heathens. I guess you could say all of us. We're all heathens. It's all our porn in some way. That equates to one moderator for 153,000 users. So you can only imagine the amount of mundane data that they have to deal with in the sense of, that's okay, that's bad, that's okay, that's bad, that's bad, oh god, oh god, oh god, lunch. All right, good, let's do it again. I mean, who even knows?
What are they talking about?
Was that a tentacle?
Why is... Oh, God. I didn't even know there was a fifth hole. Oh, God.
Why Rule 34? Why?
So let's quickly go over the techniques these multi-billion dollar companies use. We'll talk about our old friend, artificial intelligence, AI, blah, blah, blah. In a blog post by Twitter in April 2019, they state that roughly 38% of all posts that were eventually removed were found proactively by an algorithm, meaning that there was no human intervention to flag this content. It still had to be reviewed by a human being, but there wasn't any user interaction that said, "Hey, that's bad." They just said, "This is bad, and you need to review this right now." Facebook claims that roughly 50% of posts containing some sort of hate speech was removed by algorithms. 97% of removed posts containing violence and graphic content was proactively found. 14% containing bullying and harassment. So obviously the tools that they're using they're, at least according to them, with their self-regulation, they're saying it's working. They're helping these severely underpaid and overworked employees at least kind of do their job a little more efficiently. But taking it all the way back to the initial thing of what's going on in the news, something that's new with this particular year, these companies are trying to also moderate misinformation, which is a bit harder.
Yeah.
It's a bit harder. And we'll talk
because
a little bit.
You have to research. And
you have to research.
Need to find multiple sources for
you have to
each piece
understand
of
context. You have to understand nuance. So
it's really... to understand comedy. And comedy exactly. In each...
Parody, satire.
So
The Onion needs to be deleted.
And that's what's kind of the next big thing in artificial intelligence moderation is being able to program an algorithm to be able to at least basically understand it. So they're not throwing just all this crap at these poor moderators just because that's what they found. That's kind of...
Man.
Yeah. Well, they need to freaking... See, that's funny. Is we objectively know because of our backgrounds in technology and, well, the internet basically, and we objectively know that thing is not true. Anything that says that 5G is spreading freaking coronavirus is objectively not true. But this kind of goes back to the user-based, I guess, flagging of stuff is a lot of people think it is true. Somehow. I don't know why. So you have this issue of these people who are deciding if you're going off of just a pure user-based flagging system, you have these people who are basically deciding if a piece of content is true or not. And that's kind of an interesting problem that we're going to be coming into in the next 5 years, I would argue. So
this is the popularity does not equal quality.
It goes back to the crowd, what you said, Cody, about the crowd not necessarily being right. Yeah. So it's super interesting. I mean, I spent hours looking up this stuff. It's utterly fascinating. And in the next 5 to 6 years, it's going to be completely different in how we do it if we survive that long. So that's what I learned this week.
Yay!
Yay!
Okay. Yay!
That sounds wonderful.
Well, hopefully Brandon will be able to tell us something maybe more positive. And again, I don't know what it is. So what's going on with Microsoft and scientists? And no, come on, man, give me puppies, give me kittens.
So it's better than that, but then I'm gonna have to dive right back into the mud pit.
Aw.
But first, I'd like to issue a correction. Last week we were talking about dark web, and there are two terms. So there is dark web and deep web. Dark web are the nefarious websites. Deep web is what, like, my personal self-hosted but unlisted,
the non-nefarious
unregistered
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
possibly
unlisted,
non-nefarious.
basically.
Okay.
So I did just want to clarify.
That's a TWIL correction for you guys. That's the first one in 9 episodes. Look at us.
Yay!
Following up on our
and it was my fault.
Following up on our bullshit.
I think it was kind of all of our fault, actually. We all...
Yeah.
I love it.
Either
Look at
way,
us, professionalism.
that's the correction. But now that we got that out of the way, we can talk about scientists and Microsoft.
Science!
But Cody already alluded to it at the start of the episode. It is Excel. The auto-correction and auto-completion functions. So for at least the last 4 years, over 20% of the major typos in scientific papers are actually due to Microsoft Excel. The gene abbreviations sometimes look like partial dates, or they're converted into floating point numbers incorrectly. So, for example, septin-2, which is a protein that is part of the signaling pathway used in the DNA damage response to the cytoskeleton, shortens to sept2, S-E-P-T-2,
September
which
2nd.
Excel takes as September 2nd. Additionally, Riken identifiers. So Riken identifiers are cDNA sequences from the Riken project, are formatted. So the example I have here is 2310009E, like Echo 13.
Oh, jeez.
That gets transferred to 2.31 E plus 13.
Yeah.
Because it shortens it down because it thinks that's what it is. So I'd just like to say that currently autocorrect truly is an enema to communication. Wait, I mean enemy! No!
Just like...
Oh, Raheem, I love it.
No, that's what happens on
Oh,
Facebook.
you wrote that in the script. I love it.
I did. I really did.
That's the data that goes to Facebook. That's just like, all right.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I've actually done a little work as a data, what was it? Some lame data entry specialist or some bullshit title like that.
Okay.
And I could definitely see when you're dealing with thousands of points of data, entering them into an Excel spreadsheet, go back to mundane. At some point, your job is to obviously enter it as accurately, but also as quickly as possible. So if you're dealing with millions of points or whatever, I'm sure, yeah, I can only imagine the amount of errors that kind of shit actually causes.
Yeah, doing that all day only to have the program that you're trying to use fight you over it. So
Computers were supposed to make it easier, damn it.
So I do a lot of spreadsheets because that's what I prototype all of my programming like class levels and stuff into when I do a program that has a backend database.
Look at you,
So
your class levels.
Yeah. So
Using that degree.
I do all of the data entry into Excel, and then I have, that then imported into an actual database once I have everything set up and prototyped how I want. And I have had tons of issues with this where it tries to auto convert numbers to currency, or it converts abbreviations to dates or it goes, oh, are you trying to use this kind of formula? No. Did I use the formula button? Then I'm not trying to do a formula. Is there an equal in front of it? No, then I'm not doing a formula. Stop trying to do a formula.
See,
and then I do...
What's interesting is... Sorry, go ahead. I'll save my point.
Oh, it's just extra nerdiness. I track all my vehicle maintenance and fuel
you still do that?
Costs.
It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I do.
I gave up on fuel a long
It's a pain in the
time
ass,
ago.
but...
It's good to go. Well, what's interesting is
Oh, mine's just Excel.
I don't actually use Excel for any sort of data entry. I actually use LibreOffice, the open source version, and from what I've seen, it doesn't seem to have a huge problem with that. I don't know if that's by choice or just because there isn't that giant corporation with all their extra money to throw behind a giant library of potential autocorrect fixes. So that's just kind of, I just literally noticed that thinking about it.
Yeah. So what this has done is in the last year, 27 different genomes have actually been renamed to avoid issues moving forward.
Because when you fight Microsoft,
because of Excel.
Wow.
You lose. You don't change. Microsoft doesn't change.
Microsoft doesn't change.
Yeah.
Wow, that's ridiculous. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, they did have an understandable reason for this. Is should Microsoft change Excel because of a small subset of users in this community that have issues with it?
Can you
can
you turn off the autocomplete? I guess is the question.
You can. It is a pain in the butt to dig that far into the settings to get it to turn off.
So you'd think they could put a damn button on the top bar, autocomplete on, autocomplete off.
That's what I would like to see.
Yep.
A freaking check mark or nothing. I mean,
why? And maybe I'll look into doing this, data scientists. Why wouldn't you just create a macro? Because you can use macros to change settings in Excel. Why wouldn't you create a macro that you run it once on that computer if you're doing data science, and it changes all of those settings for you?
It's probably... Actually, that's a good point, but it's theoretically
you'd have to
because
remember to do that on every computer.
You have to do that, and then you're dealing with people. If you're going off of science, and generally the people who are going to be doing the data entry, the boring crap, are going to be like, what do you call them? Not lower classmen. Well, fresh. You know what I'm saying?
Serfs.
Lower class. Yeah, basically free
interns,
free interns who either are just trying to get credit or... And no, I can't say this is true for everything, but a lot of that boring shit is done by free serf labor. So you'd have to train them to do it, but I guess it's easier...
surfing, man.
Yeah, I guess it's easier than renaming an entire section of science. Huh.
Yeah.
Who knew?
That caught my attention as I was doing research for the other topic that I have that correlates to your evil and horribleness. So I've brought us back up, and now I'm going to throw us right back into the mud pit.
Gonna lift you up, and then put you down.
It shows how screwed up it is when scientists making major data entry errors is like an upper point of the podcast.
Yeah.
We're doing great as a species, everybody.
It brings the VSC just up slightly.
Wait, VSR?
And then right back down.
VSR.
VSR.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it.
Get it right.
Its first name.
See? You didn't use autocomplete. I would have had it right.
Oh well.
Well, let's see how terrible we can get.
Let's end on a low note, Brandon. What do we got?
Yeah, I'm going to end us back in the mud sty. So, fact-checking Trump can get you silenced. So Twitter users have been reporting today that they've had their accounts locked after fact-checking Trump, specifically regarding Trump's recent statement that kids are almost immune from COVID. These locked accounts came hours before Trump's posted video, where he actually says this on an interview, was pulled down from Facebook and Twitter. All of the locks have been due to violating the policy on spreading misleading and potentially harmful information related to COVID-19. Users complaining about the lock have directly quoted the president's words, which are very misleading and uninformed, as kids are definitely susceptible to COVID-19. As a note, experts do believe currently, as of today, that children 10 years and older 10 years old and younger are less susceptible to coronavirus than adults or teens, but they can still catch it. And there's not a
just less
percentage
symptoms
that they can point at and say, well, they are, number here percentage less likely to get it than an adult. It's just that right now experts are saying they're seeing that they're less susceptible, but there's no hard data.
Yeah, and it depends on a lot of things. I'm sure maybe, vitamin D levels also might have something to do with it, which
but the
also
point is
skin
the
tone
specific statement. I mean, the specific statement was that children are virtually immune to it, right?
Yes.
Which essentially means immune. Like, that's what that statement can be implied to say. Okay.
And yeah, so what's interesting to me is not the subject matter, because let's face it, Trump saying stupid stuff to help get reelected and help public opinion isn't my kind of news. And it really isn't, at this point, isn't news.
Yeah.
This happens
That's
daily,
true.
and it's stupidity. Instead, what interests me is Twitter and Facebook removing some of Trump's content. The question I'd like to ask our viewers, so engagement challenge here, what, and of course our panel, should Facebook and Twitter or social media platforms in general actively censor its users? And we did touch on that a little bit earlier.
So basically, we're gonna reiterate Cody and my conversation about this a little bit. Okay, so if you're talking about the specific situation where you have a platform where you have millions of followers, where 1 million people doing something potentially dangerous can get millions of people potentially killed, I would lean towards it is okay, because if you're going off of the free speech idea, you can't cry fire when there's no fire. That's not protected speech. And to me, if you're going off of what the president said and has been saying, that's not necessarily protected speech, because that has real damaging consequences to society as a whole.
I think we have to be very careful about how we do this. I am...
And
so
go ahead.
Yeah, my leaning is a little bit more to independent thought, and I maybe this is going to be difficult to phrase, but I think people should be more in control of their own safety, their own actions, their own judgment of things.
But Cody,
so I think you have to.
The issue with that, Cody, I understand.
Yes, is people drink bleach and they die because
other people. No, it's not. It's not the way it works. That person could get another person killed. That's not them. Screw that person. But doing stuff that, as a group, if that group of people does things that endangers people who are following the rules and trying to, say, stop the spread, or that's not the same issue, because you have people who are doing the research saying, specifically, I mean, the general argument is masks work. They've done the research. They've found the sources. So they've done their part. But these other people aren't necessarily doing that.
Or they're cherry picking where they
So
get.
it's not just about...
Exactly.
It's not specifically about their own safety. It's about the safety of society. That's the issue with this specific problem, because this is a very unique situation that humanity, at least humanity as a whole, has not been in part of.
I think we're having this specific problem because of the divisiveness and we're going to get into a much larger topic with this, but with the divisiveness and how everything in this country is politicized. So you have to choose one of two different accepted truths. and there's no intermingling between those truths and being politically acceptable, because there can only be a binary choice and binary thought process. So therefore, even if this person spouts things that may not make sense, you have to follow this person because this person is in charge of your group's ideals, even if you might disagree. And this is what I have seen with certain people who are intelligent people, but God, how this is... I'm trying to say this without...
The general rule, if you're going off of free speech, in my opinion, is if you have to have this argument, you should lean towards the more rights idea. One of our other friends kind of made that point that you lean towards more rights, and I too tend to agree with that. But again,
it's difficult. There's no simple answer to this.
But
if we had a
simple
answer,
which is why I asked it.
It's part of it's an emergency situation, and in the long run, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all these companies are private companies. They are not. They are beholden, as said earlier. They're beholden to their stockholders. They are not beholden to.
They're also beholden
by the law. By the law, there is ethics things, but it's one of those things of these companies grew too big for their britches, and now the law itself, which can be a whole other fucking topic, which we've actually kind of covered with section, exactly, needs to be updated to deal with this kind of thing, considering 45% of people get their news from fucking Facebook.
But
now, not to say the news is correct, but that's where they get their news. That's how they interact with the world, how they learn about other parts of outside themselves. So if you have a private company doing the kind of thing, you can make the argument, well, they have a responsibility to, either provide the platform as it is, just merely a platform, or as a private company, do they have a responsibility to push their own agenda? And it's one of those things of...
it's difficult with social
is the internet
media
a utility, or is the internet a privilege? I would argue it's a utility. So you change how you regulate it if it's a utility versus a privilege.
Yeah.
You know what? That might be an interesting topic for our...
Yeah, we almost need
future
like
episode.
a
We may just have an entire
segment.
Well, Brandon, you know what? You haven't throw your quick 2 cents in there real quick.
Okay, so we didn't really answer your question succinctly, because there's no way to answer your question succinctly.
Said nothing.
And if we do answer your question succinctly, we should rule the world, because we'll have the answer to all of this without any problems.
It would be easier just to determine yes or no. I mean,
but no, that's not the way the world works.
Because then we wouldn't have to waste time. I know that's
Nuance.
but I'm saying, the human element is
the word of
black
the
and white.
year.
Sorry, Brandon. What do you think? What do you think, Brandon?
Nuance.
So the world is grays, is shades of grays. There is no black and white, and this is especially one of those topics. So
black and white? You're not allowed to say those words. Sorry.
Different topic.
Ebony and ivory.
Black and white, all white.
Yeah. All the colors, none of the colors. It comes to me that it may be an issue of literacy. And normally when we think of literacy, we think of, a person who is literate is able to read and write, but there are different forms of literacy. Your older generation has learned that news outlets on TV are biased on their opinions one way or the other.
Or newspapers,
and
even older than that.
Yeah, newspapers, radio broadcasts, what have you. Where I think our generation and the generation underneath us is going to start changing our form of literacy is online. So you have, like, our parents' generation is what I would consider, and I'm sorry to our parents who are probably watching.
We love you.
We love you dearly. They are the initial stages of internet literacy, and it's like the first person to make scratches on a cave wall and teach those. Again, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
You're going bad
so
with
sorry.
your analogies here.
I mean, so it's the difference between being able to communicate at, a kid's book level versus further, because you're able to understand different concepts. Movie literacy was one of those things. I was reading or watching a YouTube video that was talking about game literacy and how, games were originally very, very simple because that is what people were able to understand. Movies, motion pictures, originally, like, were all done single shots. Like, if you moved from one room to the next, the camera moved from the room to the next, and there was not jump cuts. Now, not only do we have, motion and sound and colors,
the media itself,
we have
has
transitions and
gotten
exactly.
Actually, it's gotten more complicated. Honestly,
way more complicated. Look at you now. God, the Avengers MCU. You have movies set in different timelines within different parts of the movies. That correlate and cooperate with one another, and we're able to do that because our relative literacy level as a
do you want to know how many
human level
to movies has matured a little, has matured farther than where it was in its infancy when it first came out 100 years ago or whatever it got.
Exactly.
Yeah, try and
so
show
your
that
average person can follow a greater number of ideas and thought processes and stuff because they're more literate in that particular media. And I think we're getting there. We're going to have to really push that literacy onto the internet.
I agree. I was going to make a
people
quip
understand
about The Witcher. That a lot of people still don't get, like, what happened in the first, like, probably 8 episodes of The Witcher because of different timelines and stuff. So that's its own literacy. Like, you show that to somebody, that hasn't watched movies for a while, and they're
it puts you in a
different. It puts you in a different state of mind to absorb information.
Yep.
Yeah.
You are less concerned about the material of the media and more concerned about the content of the media. The more literate you become.
Yeah.
And I think globally we are not literate enough for where the level of technology is for the internet
and how widespread
the
it
things
is.
You can do.
I think we should definitely explore this topic in a future episode, guys. But we have been recording for a long time.
We've hit about an hour and a half.
I think we could make this this topic alone. I think we could do like a multi-part kind of series. I mean, that's how deep and how, like, the different levels of, like, shit we could actually talk about just in regards to just that fact alone, the internet as it is. And I think it'd be very interesting to explore that. So, especially because it seems like we all have.
It'd be interesting.
Normally we agree on most things, but it seems like we have slightly, I mean, not differing. We all still agree generally, but it's just different ideas and different ways we can come at it. So I think we should definitely explore this in future episodes, guys.
So I also want to, before we start exiting, I want to pose a question to Dracanis for the setup of next show. So,
a new thing.
Possibly change it up a little bit. Now, Dracanis, you've talked a lot about ARM. You go into crazy amounts about ARM. My perception of ARM is drastically different than your vast understanding of it. What I see as ARM is a platform of things that operate on mobile-esque operating systems that I view as terrible, inept, simple, and pathetic. But I understand,
tell us how you really feel.
I do have an understanding that pound for pound, it's actually very efficient, very fast for what it is, but I want you to explain to me why I should grow to love ARM and accept it in my life, and where it's going in the future, and why I will enjoy that.
Why should Cody care?
Yeah,
Again,
why should I like ARM?
For you, Brandon.
I will be your tech evangelist on this topic. I will make you a believer.
Sing the praises of ARM.
Ooh.
Right now, I'm a leg guy. I want to be an ARM guy.
I will make you an ARM guy. Don't you worry. Okay. Next episode's going to be awesome.
I believe we've gone off the rails with that.
But
do you think we should do some pluggables, gentlemen?
Pluggables.
Absolutely.
Kind of like micro SD, plugging it right into that slot.
And we've come full circle. Boom!
Circling it back around. I love it.
Professionalism.
All right. Well, I have been Brandon Vader. You can find me on the techpirate.net. That is the primary site of mine where I post random news, reviews, technology-related tidbits. I actually need to do some more posting.
Naked.
Huh?
And naked. No. Oh.
No, there shall be no nakedness. That is for the after hours.
That's our Patreon when we get there. If anyone wants to pay for that shit, you know what? I'm willing to tell.
I think we lost potential patrons.
Kind of situation.
There's people that are going to be like, "Oh God, no! I will pay you not to do any of that."
Hey,
here's $5. Keep your damn shirt on.
If they want to pay us to keep our clothes on, I am okay with that too. Money's money, man.
It's the opposite of a strip club.
Money talks.
Please
Nobody
put
walks.
more stuff on. Here's a coat. Here's money for a coat. Well,
Jesus. So, techpirate.net. I'm also on YouTube as the Tech Pirate. I think the last thing that's on there is the unboxing for the earbuds. I am still working on the review so far. Like them.
Nice.
Cody,
still using them.
Where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Striving to Fail. Why do I keep forgetting that? I've never
every time.
Every single.
To
it's
be
like
fair,
Colton
listeners
and
and watchers,
claps.
because Cody can't travel, he hasn't really posted any stuff
I'm going
on there.
Insane.
He's going insane. But when he starts traveling, if Americans are ever allowed to travel the world again, content every freaking day, man.
I might have to get myself an elite visa or something. Anyway, yep, I'm there. I'm also on Instagram as something. Yeah, I'll tell you next time. I'll be better prepared.
It'll be in the comments section.
Yeah.
Or under the video.
Yeah. I do actually need to review the Valve Index for the Tech Pirate. So that's something that I hope to do soonish. I'm having a lot of fun with Half-Life Alyx. But anyway, that'll be part of that. And, Psychonitrous, gaming, stuff like that. That's me. Anyway.
Boom.
You.
Me? Oh, shit. I am Colton Roper. You can find me. I'm also a contributor to the techpirate.net, working on a review of Soundcore Bluetooth. I don't have them with me, but they're Soundcore Bluetooth little earbud pods that are really freaking awesome. So stay tuned for that. I also do stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Seeker4761.
He's keeping of how many phones Dracanis has.
You know, that number is probably a bit low, but
just
to be fair, I was using Excel to put the data in, so who knows?
It added an E and a plus in there. It's okay. It's all good.
You can also find me on YouTube, same thing, Seeker4761, and on Facebook as well, under Seeker4761 The Gamer. So check it out, guys.
Well, thank you all for joining us on this episode of This Week I'm Learning. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts, as well as on YouTube at This Week I'm Learning podcast on YouTube.
The channel.
If you'd like to contact us, of course, if you're watching YouTube, put a comment down below. We'll read it. Otherwise, you can email us at TWIL, TWIL, at thetechpirate.net. See you all next week.
Bye, guys.
Farewell, and whatever seas you want. Interesting seas. Yes.
Yes. May your life ever be interesting. Bye, everyone.